I think the last time that we talked was before I face planted at DragonCon.
I believe so.
Yeah. So that kind of put what you might call a road bump in the writing. I wound up with broken nose and stitches inside my mouth and a concussion. And I didn't realize until very recently how much the concussion had really knocked me off of my ability to concentrate and put stuff together. I worked on some collaborative stuff in that time frame. But it was more, I think what was happening there was I was able to do it because I was sort of doing packets rather than an entire novel, if you know what I'm saying. Because we were doing collaborations, we had sketched out what was going to be done in each place. And so I could focus in on that and do pretty good, but I just couldn't string that together. And to be honest, I don't remember some of the stuff that I wrote in the last year. I was at con, I think it was DragonCon, and I was reading from the collaboration that Chris Kennedy and I have done, Into the Light, the sequel to Out of the Dark. And I was reading the first chapter, and I realized when I started reading it that I don't remember writing it, and I had never read it aloud. And I'm working to try and get my way through it, and my voice keeps breaking. And I was thinking while I was going through, I'm like, well, I did pretty good here. If the author's voice is breaking when he's reading it, it really is a pretty heart-wrenching chapter because it's about a father who is watching his 7-year-old daughter die of pneumonia, and there's nothing he can do about it. It gets better. Okay, but that's what's happening as far as he knows most of the way through the chapter, and man, that was hard to read aloud. But okay, so the last thing to come out was the Gordian Protocol in May. That was my collaboration with Jacob Hullo. And I'm really happy with it, and it seems to be doing well on the shelves. Chris and I have done the sequel to Out of the Dark, and I'm pretty happy with it. Richard Fox and I are gearing up to do a prequel series to In Fury Born, which will be the creation of the Terran Empire, the House of Murphy, and how Terrence Murphy becomes the first emperor. And I'm looking forward to that. I think that'll be fun.
I believe you're also doing with Timothy Zahn and Thomas
but that one, there were some real life issues for one of our collaborators that got in the way, and then my faceplant into that cement floor didn't help any. But we just resumed work on that this month. It had been on hold. Tim had stuff that he could do that was totally separate from what we were doing. And there's a bunch of Star Wars stuff that's been going on and whatnot. But Tom and I are back into the game on that one. Jane Lindskold and I are doing 3 more of the Star Kingdom novels. I did a short story for the LibertyCon Tim Bolgio Memorial Anthology that I'm really happy with. It's got tree cats in it, and it's another probably 4 hanky story, kind of thing. And I have done a short story for Rob Hampson. He has an anthology coming out that is about the colonization of a star system, the TRAPPIST star system, that's 60 light years from Earth. And it's really an interesting concept because what he wants is to write about legends that are part of the colonization. After 80 years, a century, legends have grown up from the founding. And what he wants is for us to be writing the actual story behind the legend, which is not always going to be what the legend was, if you see what I'm saying. And Mark Wandry and I are coordinating pretty closely on our stories for that, because we're going to kind of bookend the anthology. We have the first 2 stories in it, and then we are going to have, we're not sure yet whether it's going to be a single shared story at the end or 2 more that will be kind of the epilogues to the stories that begin the anthology. So that'd be kind of the frame for the whole thing, which was fun. Jacob and I have handed in the sequel to the Gordian Protocol, the Valkyrie Protocol, which is we've had a few small changes requested in it, which is a good thing, not a bad thing. And we are going to let Jacob take the first swing at the which I think will be good for him. Okay, and probably for the book. He and I talked about it some today. We were at our small local Comic-Con thing that was running today.
So are these changes after the rough draft was turned in?
Yeah.
The final draft?
So these changes, for those people who are on the first readers list and who got the manuscript, these are changes to that manuscript.
Okay.
And they're not going to be huge. It's mainly, there's one character who Tony wants tweaked a little to make him more of the milieu that the time period that he actually came from. And I don't think that's going to be a big problem. Jacob and I talked about some ways to approach that today at like I say, our little local con before he and Heather had to leave. Let's see, what else is going on? I don't have much happening, just all that. Pretty soon here now, Chris and I really have to make a start on the sequel to Into the Light, because the book flows in a way that sort of demands that we do the sequel to it pretty quick, if you know what I'm saying. That one is not scheduled by Tor yet. I imagine that it will be sometime third quarter of next year. I don't know for sure, but I really should have delivered the next Safehold novel to Tor by now. And unfortunately, after the faceplant in Atlanta, so I've got to finish the Mamelukes and get them out of the door, and then I have to do the what needs to be done on the collaboration with Tim and Tom. And then after that, I will be starting directly on the sequel to Through Fiery Trials. So it'll be the next Safehold book.